You know who I am, you know why I'm here, and I know why you're here. You want to know which running backs to start for the week. Well, before we can do that, I have to say, what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, give me a thumbs up and a subscribe. It's much appreciated, much obliged. Really helps me, helps the channel. Yeah, does that, all those things. Let's go ahead, let's get into the nitty-gritty of this. We have Atlanta versus the Colts in a interesting matchup. I think Marlon Mack and Devontae Freeman, especially Devontae Freeman, I think he has to play well. Like, he's too good of a running back to just keep throwing up these duds. I know the offensive line's not giving him any favors. I know his plays declined a little bit, but I think this is the right matchup for him to get back on track. Marlon Mack, after kind of an iffy outing last week, I think he will be right back in the thick of things against Atlanta defense that has been so-so. Nyheim Hines and Ito Smith, unless you're in extremely deep leagues, they shouldn't be starts. They don't see enough opportunity. They don't see enough touches. And we have the Cardinals versus the Panthers. David Johnson, he's a start. Christian McCaffrey, he's a start. You spent first-round picks on him. They're starts. But both teams' backups, they're kind of irrelevant. So, and let's talk about Bears, Redskins. David Montgomery is a start. Finally, he looked like he got the workload he deserves, the workload that we as fantasy owners deserve. And Tariq Cohen is pretty mean in the slot. They've been using him a lot as a receiver, and this is a good matchup for him. You might as well throw Mike Davis in the sit-em category. I don't think he'll be seeing much playing time for the rest of the season. You'll get like 5 rushes, but I don't expect more than 8 touches a game for him. Adrian Peterson, Chris Thompson, they are both sits for me. This is a fierce defense, but honestly, they could be facing the Dolphins. I won't start them because they haven't been playing well. Especially, and it's not, you know what, it's not their fault. The offensive line doesn't know how to run block. They just don't. Adrian Peterson, 10 years younger, couldn't run for 50 yards on this line. Now, let's talk about the Bengals and the Bills. Frank Gore is a start. I don't care if Devin Singletary ends up playing. Frank Gore has been getting a bulk of the carries. He's going to give you a lot of touches, a little bit of production, but enough. You might even throw a touchdown in there if you're real nice to him. Devin Singletary, I have him as a sit just because I'm unsure what his status is going to be. So just keep an eye on that before game time. Joe Mixon, I have him as a sit, and I know, you know what? A lot of you guys probably spent second-round picks on Joe Mixon, maybe worst-case scenario, first-round picks. He's not producing. He's just not. That Bengal offensive line, they don't want Cincinnati to run the ball. It's just not happening. Giovanni Bernard's a sit there as well. Next game on here we have is the Broncos versus the Packers. Aaron Jones popping off after I said sit him. He comes out and says, "Nuh-uh, nobody sits Aaron. No one sits Aaron." All right, fine, Aaron. You're in the stardom category. Congratulations. And as for his backup, Jamal Williams, he's not seeing enough. He's not going to get enough touches to be relevant. And I have the Broncos running backs as centers because it's a running back by committee. They're splitting carries. And honestly, Royce Freeman deserves more carries than Lindsey right now because he's been producing. He's over 5 yards a carry. Lindsey's under 4. He's like 3.5, 3.2, something like that. And the way this Packer defense has been playing, it won't be pretty. These guys, their stretches as even flex options. And we have Detroit versus the Eagles. Miles Sanders, I'm going to say it. It's a start. He's a start. He hasn't really produced well, but he's getting opportunities. He's getting more snaps than Darren Sproles and Jordan Howard. That's why I have them in the sit-em category. While Kerryon Johnson, I have CJ Anderson on here. And then as of today, before I recorded this, he's gone. He's gone. He's gone. All hail the king. Kerryon is the king of the jungle. Carry on is the king of Pride Rock. Carry on should be a start for you this week. All right, let's talk about the Texans versus the Chargers. Carlos Hyde, he's been pretty impressive with Houston. They've given him almost all of the carries now. So go ahead, he's the starting running back. He's the starting running back here. There's no one eating into his carries, and yeah, enough said. Austin Eckler's been pretty good. He hasn't been too great running the football, but he gives you a lot in the pass game, and he does see a bulk of the carries. Sit-ems, I got Duke Johnson, man. I'm sorry. I think week 1 was an outlier. Houston, they just don't pass to their running backs. Justin Jackson, he's been really good on the ground. He won't get you anything in the passing game, but Eckler's getting more carries. Okay, that's it. He's getting more carries. Justin Jackson's just not getting the opportunities. And Houston, they're really good at run defense. So they're not missing a step without Javon Clowney. So let's talk about the Rams versus the Browns. Should be a good game. I have Nick Chubb as a start. He's gonna have to be. I know it's a tough matchup, but he's gonna have to be very, very productive in this matchup if they're gonna have a chance. Todd Gurley's a start. It looks like they're gonna give him now majority of the carries. There's gonna be no funny business in splitting time, but I still think Malcolm Brown might end up being the red zone running back. So again, this is a very low end start, even a low end flex. If you're really, really desperate, Malcolm Brown's not a bad start this week. Browns have laid down 4 running backs this year. Now we got the Dolphins versus the Cowboys. Kalen Ballage, he's a sit. Surprise, surprise. Dolphins players being sits. Fins up, baby. Fins up. Kenyon Drake, he's only a start if he gets traded. For stardom, I got Zeke Elliott. He should go off. And this game I expect to be out of hand very quickly. So Tony Pollard could get some playing time. So he's not a bad flex option. He's really not, because this is a very plus matchup. And we have the Patriots versus the Jets. Sony Michel is a start. Finally, he comes out and he's like, yo, I'm RB1. And I'm like, all right, Sony. Go get him, Tiger. Rex Burkhead, though, he's been very productive this year. He's easily been the running back, too. And he's provided some good stuff in the receiving game, in the passing game. Same goes for Le'Veon Bell. He had 10 receptions? It was ridiculous. Then again, rookie quarterback, so he ended up being the top receiving option as well as running the football up and down that field. James White, he's just not seeing the receptions. They're not giving him carries, and it's just hard to find a reception in there when you gotta feed so many mouths. R.I.P. James White, R.I.P. Let's talk about the Giants versus the Bucks. This is a good matchup for Peyton Barber. I know if you are desperate, you need someone in the flex, or you need another running back, Peyton Barber's not a bad option. This is a very good matchup for him, and he has distinguished himself as the starter. Ronald Jones is no longer eating into many of his carries. Saquon's easy. He's a start. There's only one game this year. Not even a game. 1 week you won't start him. That's his bye week. And you know what? He's so good, you might even start him on his bye. Ronald Jones is a sit. I just talked about him. R.I.P. Ronald Jones. All that hype. R.I.P. We got the Raiders versus the Vikings. Both starting running backs are starts. Dalvin Cook has been the engine to this offense, and Josh Jacobs has just looked phenomenal there. Jalen Richard, he ain't doing much. He was typically just going to be really just a pass option there, but Josh Jacobs does offer that as well, so he's a sit. I don't know why people even roster him. Alexander Madison, he gets some carries. He's easily the running back too, but unless the game gets out of hand, he's not going to be really given the opportunity there. we have the Steelers versus the 49ers. James Conner, if healthy, is a start. Jalen Samuels, if Conner is healthy, he's a sit. Conner is not healthy if he does not play. Samuels is a start. Easy math, am I right? Matt Breida, he's a start. He's produced very well. He's been healthy this season thus far. Raheem must start, man. Dude saw a bulk of the carries and he was monster in the receiving game. And I know that's not his forte, but he was. But Jeff Wilson Jr., I felt like putting it on him because he did see 10 carries. That's an outlier. I don't think that's to be an expectation. I don't think he should be rostered, especially with Tevin Coleman, like 2 weeks away from coming back. So he's a sit. But hey, keep up with the 49 running backs, man. They got a running back committee, but it works. You can learn something, Denver. And we have the Steelers. Why do I keep saying Steelers? The Saints. Did this in my last video. Saints versus the Seahawks. Chris Carson, he had a bit of a rough game, but he is a start. They continue to feed him the ball, and he's getting every opportunity. Rashad Penny finally looking like he was going to get some of that Mike Davis workload from last year. So I say he's a start because I think this game could get not out of hand. Saints are a very good team. They will stay in this game, but man, this is just a feeling. This is just me going off a gut feeling. If you don't feel comfortable starting Rashad Penny, please don't do it then. I feel comfortable if I was in a tight bind starting Rashad Penny. I don't feel that way about Alvin Kamara. He's a must start. I know his production might dip a little bit without Breeze, but he's still a must start. You spent one of the top 4 picks on him. Latavius Murray, man, I really expected more from you. You're set. Then we have the Titans versus the Jaguars. Derrick Henry is a start for this team that seems to be crumbling on defense. They put up a good defensive effort, but they still allowed Carlos Hyde to get running back. I think he was like fringe running back 2 numbers. So Derrick Henry should be a running back 2 this week, maybe a running back 3. Siddums, Leonard Fournette, man. Sorry, this is a tough Tennessee defense, and Dion Lewis, I don't think he's on the roster anymore. Or at least that's what the stat sheet says, because he keeps putting up no points. You shouldn't be on your team. I still got people. Wait, one more game. 3, 2, 1. And finally, we have the Ravens versus the Chiefs. Mark Ingram is a start against this defense. Damian Williams is a start against the Ravens. Okay, this is a tough matchup for the Chiefs as far as the Chiefs running backs, but Damian Williams, I think I don't think he's banged up. I think they have him as questionable. I wouldn't think anything of it, but he will see plenty of targets in the passing game. He is very versatile like that. LaShawn McCoy, not so much. He's going to struggle. I have him as a sit. I have Gus Edwards and Justice Hill as a sit. I think they're going to rely a lot on Lamar and Ingram in this game. And if they get behind quick, because that Chief offense is so hard to stop, they won't totally give up on the run. But they're going to be running a lot less, which means when they choose to run, they run with Ingram. That's it for the video. Hopefully I helped you make some wise choices this week, or maybe I told you to do something stupid. My bad. It happens. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.